Many thanks for staying with us. Residents of a community at a satellite town in Abuja have expressed dissatisfaction over what they describe as the unregulated electricity billing system, which is being employed by distribution companies. They claim the billing system is overwhelming and crippling small businesses in the community.
Residents of Jikoyi community, a suburb of Abuja, Nigeria's capital city, take to the streets protesting the estimated electricity billing system of the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company. The placards in the hands of these protesters say it all. They are dissatisfied with the estimated electricity billing system adopted by the company. According to the protesters, the action is a last resort to call for the urgent intervention of federal lawmakers and regulatory authorities, since all other avenues to address the situation have failed.
We have made various concerted efforts via letters, correspondences to Karu, Jikoyi service area, even AEDC main zone 4. To no avail. They keep giving us excuses. Some instances they tell you there are no prepaid meters available. Even those that were able to get prepaid meters, arguably, some of them got it at the cost of 100,000 naira.
There is a neighbor of mine that was given 50,000 in February. He went and paid that 50,000. By end of March, they gave him 21,000. The question is, what is the rationale for this type of irregular bills?
Estimated electricity billing system is a method used by distribution companies, DISCOs, to estimate a customer's power consumption and bills, where such a customer does not have a meter. The system has constantly been a source of friction between consumers and distribution companies. Hence, it forms the crux of discussions as the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee investigating excess charges by the DISCOs held a public hearing during the week, where the AEDC explained its activities.
We don't want you to pay for the service not used. And we want to keep the DISCOs, the distribution company, on their toes to make sure they deliver services to people.
If for the month of April, in your estimated billing, a consumer pays 10,000 naira, under what heading will you come back with 15,000 naira the next month? Did you go to investigate that an iron or air conditioner was added to that house?
Our approach is, if we have to rely on the transformer, which is locally feeding you, even if we have metered all the customers, we marry that effort with a survey of the load, where we physically go there and say, okay, how many bulbs you have, how many, so you have some sensible ratio of sharing. So that even under that arrangement, there is a basis of sharing which is a bit fair.
An estimated 2.8 million electricity users in Abuja are not metered. The number of unmetered electricity consumers remains high, despite several interventions by the federal government.
When the control building is ready, we will terminate.
Internally generated revenue in Nigeria is a two-edged sword, with a few states taking advantage of the initiatives while others adopt it with levity. Now, of the 36 states of the federations, findings have continued to show that Nigeria may have a long way to go in realizing this goal. Our business correspondent, Tempo Ashaju, has the rest of the story.
A recent survey by Economic Confidential shows that 17 states of the Federation are insolvent with weak internally generated revenues for the 2017 fiscal year. The 17 states include Bauchi, Yobe, Borno, Kebbi, and Katsina. Other poor internal revenue earners are Niger, Jigawa, Imo, Akwa Ibom, Ekiti, Osun, Adamawa, Taraba, and Ebonyi states. The reasons identified for the poor performance include social-political crises like insurgency, militancy, armed banditry, and herdsmen attacks, as other states lack foresight in revenue generation drive. According to the survey, the states performed below 10% of their receipts for the Federation accounts allocations. This means that without the monthly disbursement from FAC, majority of these states could remain below waters. The report further explains that the states with impressive over 30% IGR, apart from Lagos, are Ogun, Rivers, Edo, Kwara, Enugu and Kano states, which generated 607 billion naira in total, while the remaining states merely generated a total of 327 billion naira in 2017. Lagos ultimately generated over 333 billion naira, higher than that of 30 states put together.
Let's get more perspective on this matter, and I'm being joined on the news at 10 by a co-founder of Budget, Mr. Seun Onigbinde. You're welcome to the news at 10.
It's a pleasure being here.
Now, are you surprised by the report by Economic Confidential on the standing of states in terms of IGR?
I'm not surprised, and I think they quoted the official figures by the National Bureau of Statistics. If you look at IGR for states, by the time you take like the top 10 states, most states are practically doing less than 15 billion naira monthly, a year annually. And this is not something that is supposed to be. We build an incentive where every state depends on the central allocation to survive. So wherever there's a dip in that, you find that most states can pay salaries. And so this is not a surprise. The states would have been in the uptick, like Ogun State, the Delta, Rivers, Lagos, recently Kano, have been the ones showing that they really appreciate that IGR needs to increase, and they've been taking advantage of resources around them.
So it's not a case of the states are not viable, or should the governors be doing something different to change the narrative?
There's an argument that some states are not viable, and I can agree with that maybe the last round of state creation fragmented the states so much. And there's a certain states, and by the time you look at the cost of the administrative cost for those states, you wonder why do they really exist? Like in Southwest, where Ekiti, IGR is appalling, and you would wonder why was it separated from Ondo in the first place, or Ebonyi and Enugu. You find that they're part of the states that were defined as laggards in the current IGR race. I, for one, believe that every state in Nigeria has a unique selling point. Yes, every single state can take, it could be sorghum, it could be millet, it could be tourism, it could be just even be IT, it could be services. There's a positioning, either by your geographical structure or by your traditional economic structure. Maybe so like, they
just need to utilize it.
Yeah, just need to, like, what if Ebonyi says in the next 10 years we'll be producing 50% of rice consumption in Nigeria? Imagine how many people will be employed within that space. But we have short-termism in our electoral cycles. So a governor comes in, you know that if you're going to start a franchise like rice production, it might take a while before you'll be able to get it in the play.
And there will not be any.
And you might not even be re-elected.
Yeah.
And so you possibly don't even consider when you get a second term. Or you want to even look at Stellenbosch in South Africa as an entire space that is used for wine production. And we can do the same thing in Taraba. We have those planes that will deliver us those vines. But are we going to wait 7 years? Or we want to have the cocoa belt again in Ondo or Osun or your state? Are we going to be able to wait 3 to 4 years? So it's that short-termism that really has not allowed us to be able to raise IGR. And the second thing is incentives. Why would I be pursuing IGR if there's a federal allocation that is locked down for me every month? I think that's the problem itself.
Now let's look at states that are doing things right. Lagos State. Do you think that because of the geographical location, probably the seaports and the likes, that's what gives it an advantage?
You need to give some credit to them, because you can have all that advantage and still don't maximize it. And they've benefited for some form of structure of having successive governments come from the same party. I don't think that's an excuse, but that has been a bit of an advantage for them, so that the vision has been in a single pipeline. And they also benefited from having the largest concentration of formal workers. So you find that the payee still accounts for close to 60% of the entire collection that Lagos State has, which also comes from formal workers. Some form of benefit that other states don't have. And that's why we also need to rethink the whole idea of not taxing agriculture, because if agriculture is the largest employer of labor in Nigeria and that space is largely untaxed, how do states that solely depend on agriculture, how do they effectively raise IGR?
Thank you so much, Mr. Shion Odigbinde, for speaking with us on the news at 10. Now let's move over to Anne for more business stories. Hello, Anne.
Hello, Melinda. And we begin business news tonight with returns on the equities market. It turned negative with Thursday's loss of 0.48%, muting all accumulated gains from the other three sessions in the week. As a result of this, the benchmark index closed lower by 0.06% to 41,107.81 points. Volume and value of trades dropped this week, closing at 1.3 billion shares and 20.8 billion naira. The consumer goods, the oil and gas, and even the insurance sectors closed lower, while the banking and the industrial goods sectors advanced. Market analysts are looking forward to gains in the medium to long term. Let's check out the overnight lending rate. It shed 9 basis points to 3.33% this week, despite significant outflows from OMO sales, forex sales, and the Treasury bills auction. System liquidity remained very healthy throughout the week, but inflows include matured OMO and Treasury bills. Expected inflows of 226.6 billion naira from OMO bills is expected to support liquidity in the coming week, and this might lead to further moderation in the overnight money market rate. To the Treasury bills market now, proceedings were mixed this week with the CBN's large liquidity mop-up on Thursday. Average yield shed 1 basis point to close at 11.2%. Yield at the short end contracted, benefiting from investors' interest. But on the other hand, yields at the mid and the long segments recorded expansions. Meanwhile, at this week's primary market auction, 9.54 billion, 47.71 billion and 38.17 billion naira of the 91-day, the 182-day and the 364-day bills were all offered by the central bank. The bills were more than 5 times oversubscribed, with yields closing lower across all the bills. Dealers are anticipating healthy liquidity to support demand next week. Trading in the bond market was predominantly bearish due to the 5 basis point rate hike in the long-dated bill at the OMO auction, and even profit-taking following last month's rally. For this week, average yield rose 21 basis points. There was sell pressure at the short, mid, and the long ends of the curve, with the June 2019, the March 2027, and the July 2034 bonds all recording the largest expansions. Analysts are saying that the bond market has continued to favor lower yields, driven by investors' reaction to sustained moderation in the inflation rate, strengthening signals of monetary easing and the federal government's new debt management strategy. That's business news for this week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwaudo. Back to you, Melinda.
Many thanks, Anne. Still ahead on the news at 10. Former Manchester United manager Sir Alex Ferguson recovering in hospital after undergoing emergency brain surgery. That's on Sports News. Stay with us.